That's fine. Okay, excellent. I'm live. YouTube can hear me, but you can't. Now you can. Excellent. Right. And we are on YouTube, and we can switch to the desktop. That's beautiful. Right. So, okay, fine. Okay, right. A couple of pieces of admin. I'm going to close this door just to encourage people subtly to come on time, and when they come now, they'll have to walk, but that's fine. I don't mind if you come late, it's just kind of distracting, and well, it's kind of distracting. Right, so, okay, now I can go. Right here. I don't want to be angry about this. I had a second year math prof who used to lock the doors, and then when you knock to come in, he used to come and stand by some window and stare at you. I don't want to be that guy, but, and I know I was late a lot last semester, but still, that's how life works. You tell me what happened today. You did? Yeah. Okay. India, would you mind getting up this time and walking for the rest of the day? I'll do it this time. Close the door. Completely. Right. And Imbrium will handle the door. Couple of pieces of admin. We need to have class representatives. This is also an exercise for the grade. Right. I want like 3 classes. No, let's we make it 4. Yes, 50 people per class representative. Sounds right. So I want 4 class representatives, and you're going to be a representative. So I think I want 2 ladies, females, and 2 gentlemen / males. And okay. And then it would be nice to have a class person, and who is doing actuarial science? And an actuarial science student. You can say oh, it's your turn. Okay. Fine. Actuarial science, too late. I saw you raise your hand. You did, yes. Who else? You did. Sarah. Take a while. Your name's not Matthew, because most people in this class are called Matthew. Matthew is the most common name. More than half of you are called Matthew. Okay? So who else is doing actuarial science? Don't be shy. So one of you 2 guys. Okay? I want somebody who's Afrikaans speaking and 2 females. They can also be Afrikaans speaking and actuarial science. That will be the triple combo. But we need to decide on those. So before we end, I'll ask you for that. He's sitting on Abraham's place. You got up to open for you. Now you're shoving his bag. And this is disastrous. Okay, I'm not supposed to waste time. Right, next step. I updated the course webpage a little bit. So the model framework is updated just a tad. I'm still working on it. Lots of other stuff going on. But it now includes this little list. So the good news is that we have a new lecturer in computer science who is coming next week. But this guy he's kind of youngish, and he hasn't taught at the university before. He's taught other places. So I don't want to throw him in with you lot. You'll probably destroy it. And I can't afford to lose it. So he'll be doing something else. Next year he can start teaching first years. But for the rest of this course, you're going to have a rainbow of computer science. Now this is a bad thing because it's much nicer to have one lecturer that teaches the whole course. Some kind of continuity to get used to that person. And if this happens, then these people don't know what the other one has done and they repeat or they skip stuff. And I'm going to try to keep them on a tight leash to make sure that all teach exactly what they're supposed to. But the bottom line is that I'll teach next week and I'll teach the last week, which is great because it's at the moment just revision, so no teaching. But I'll also try to be responsible for the whole course. So if you have messages, you are free to send them to me, and I'll try to respond more promptly than last semester. But overall, I did respond to most people. People asked, is there a test? Again, I kind of ignored. Next week, you'll have Professor Van Zyl. Okay? You just watch out for her. She likes teaching her own research work and deviating from the course material. So just be tricky. Then it's Mr. Bester. Oh wow, he's kind of tough. And then Dr. Ings, she's kind of small, easily overpowered. Dr. Kroon, and Professor Van der Merwe. And you'll get some kind of taste of these people, and I don't know what you're going to do with that information, but I mean, it's not as if you can decide not to take their courses. Most of the courses are like fixed. But and the last week I'll come back again. So if you have questions, feel free to send them to me and I'll try to answer them. I may be at most of your tats, some of the tats at least. And I'll be back in the last week and next week, of course. Okay. So those are the lecturers. These class representatives will decide by the end of the class. Just think if you have the time. It doesn't require much time. Last semester we didn't do it. I was just overwhelmed, but with these people teaching, they will definitely arrange meetings with representatives. And the ideal is to have a meeting in the middle of the course to ask for feedback from you guys. I must admit that it's not a total disaster. You're all great people, and I like teaching you. But this year our numbers doubled, so you are twice as large as the largest class we've had before. We were down one lecturer, loads of other stuff. And then the university introduced a new feedback system. So who filled out some kind of electronic survey feedback? Who got mail doing that? Okay, some of you got mail. Who filled it out? 1, 2, 3. 3 people. Okay. So the mistake there was to fill it out, because as it happens, that system kind of crashed, and some of the results were lost. And the university got a bit of a red face. So I didn't get any feedback, and that's sad, but because we do react to feedback, we do take it seriously. And in fact, that kind of feedback goes into our performance evaluation. So it's important for us that you respond to those kind of things. So if you get another letter like that at the end of this course, please respond to that, because it does help us. For example, if you all say that having so many lecturers is great because you couldn't stand person X, and you're so glad that there are only 2 weeks, that is good feedback for us, because it means that people actually like a variety of lecturers in the first year, and we should do that again. However, if you all say it was discontinuous and you didn't like it much, then we won't do that. We'll try to avoid it in the future. So that's an example of how feedback helps us. Or if everyone says the work is too hard or too easy, we adjust that, we make small adjustments. So feedback is really important, and we appreciate that you do that. And okay, you can say that. I'm sure that if someone comes, I'll open if they're not hard enough, and you tell me. Fine. So those are the instructors, class representatives, feedback. What else did I want to tell you admin-wise? Probably that I've put up all your tests, but they're empty. It's just so the dates are there and the other lecturers don't get scared because they tend not to use Sunderland. We don't like it. And I've also put up the project specification. So everything about the project should be here. And I haven't done the exact schedule yet, but I may come back in the middle of the course just to give you a few demos about the project, explain a few things, and if you have questions. But the bottom line is that this is a long document which you should really read very carefully. Even if you decide to do something entirely different, to use your own libraries, not use Eclipse, to almost not use Java, whatever you decide to do, you must use Java. But however much you deviate from the norm, that's fine. You must please read this document carefully so that as a first pass, you at least understand what we explained. Definitely, you must not make your own game with different rules. It works entirely differently, because then you won't get any marks. So a lot of this document has a lot of details about how to take the framework that's available on the net. So there's already a framework with loads of stuff in it. I won't show you now. And how to adjust it step by step. So there are like step 1, the first small extension. And then comes step 2, adding some of the cat functionality and all that stuff. If you work through this, you'll have a lot of the game's core functionality, and then you still have to do some work to add the rest. But a lot is explained. Unfortunately, a lot of these concepts are things you probably don't know yet, that we will get to during the run of the course. But by the end of the project, by the end of the course, you should have read this whole document carefully, even if you deviate. And just for now, you can at the very least read the first 2 sections that explains how the game works, and make sure that you understand exactly what the game should do. It's a bad idea to start coding without knowing the parameters, the setup for this particular game. Even if you are a Plants vs. Zombies expert, this doesn't work exactly the same way. There are subtle differences that you need to know. Okay, so that's the project. We've done all the other stuff. Tutorials will come. Hopefully YouTube videos will come. I'll put up the rest of the slides soon, well, next week at the very latest. And I need to complete the module framework. And I'll translate it to Afrikaans right here. Now, on Wednesday, there was a lot of joking, but we have to speed up, because otherwise I'm going to fall behind schedule, and everybody else is going to be angry at me for throwing off the rigid schedule. So, on Wednesday, we started talking about these objects, and I said that an object, or a data type, is just a collection of values and a collection of operations you can perform on those values. This first section of chapter 3 is about using other people's data types. To get comfortable with some of the concepts that's involved in objects. And the next section, 3.2, is about creating your own data type, because this is what we ultimately want to do. Yes, we want to use colors, we want to use pictures, but we also want to define our own kind of objects for the use in the game, for the use in any kind of problem we have to solve. So we need to work through this stuff. Now, we have been using objects in the first semester of the whole time. We just didn't call them that. But whenever we use the string, string S, a string is really an object. If I say int x, and we'll talk about this a little bit. When we say int x, x is available immediately. And it's just there, we can store integer values in that variable. Saying X, it's a declaration, and it makes X, creates X immediately. But when you say string S, it doesn't create S, the string, immediately. S is a variable, but it doesn't contain the string itself. Instead, it simply contains a reference, what we call a pointer, to a string object. And when you say string S, there is no string yet. And that reference, that pointer, is pointing nowhere. It has a 0 value, say it's a null pointer. So, for me to actually, or for Java to actually create that string, we have to make an assignment like this. We have to say S is equal to, so we assign something to S, new string. So this new keyword is new, and it tells Java, create a new object of type string. Find some memory for it somewhere, and take that address and store it inside S. So S is now pointing to that string. And when I talk about S, I pretend that I'm really talking about that string. Even though S is not a string, S is a pointer to the string, but I'm manipulating the string. This, when you say new string, is called object allocation, object creation, and it actually calls a method inside the string data type, calls a special method called the constructor. It's only invoked once when an object is created, and that's why we can pass it parameters. So I say new string, that tells Java make a new string object, find memory for it, store the reference S, and also call its constructor passing these parameters. In this case, it only has one parameter, which is itself a string, hello world, that is sent to the constructor, and this object is initialized, so it also contains hello world. Now, there's a bit of a chicken and an egg here, because how can I pass a string to create another string? And where does the very first string come from? And the truth is that Java is a little special about strings. Because unlike all other objects, unlike colors or pictures, Java has some built-in support for strings. Like it has built-in support for integers and doubles and booleans. So I can write 55 and Java recognizes it as a number, an integer. So it knows about integers. And in the same way, Java knows a little bit about strings. In particular, whenever it sees something in double quotation marks, it knows that this is a string, and before your program even starts executing, it creates a little special object that is constant, we can't change it, and it contains the string, the characters hello world. So this string object, this one, it's anonymous. The only way I can access it is to say double quotes hello world. And it sits somewhere, ready to be used. And if I say new string, Java creates a new object, a second string, and it passes that first string, hello world, its constant anonymous object. It passes that to the constructor of this new string. And in fact, now I have two strings that contain hello world. This one, which Java created, so tell me when it's not. This one, which Java created when the program was compiled, it's anonymous, it's fixed, it's constant. And this S, the one that S is pointing to, which I just created by saying new string. Is everybody comfortable with this concept? It's not too difficult. For some of you, it's natural. It tastes a little like baby food. It's part of the environment. For other people, this is high philosophy. This is counter to your intuition, how these things be. But the first kind of people are fine. The second kind of people, you'll have to just endure. Sometimes when you don't understand, you must ask some questions. Because if you don't understand, there are probably at least half the class who also do not follow. Don't be afraid to ask questions. On the other hand, I found that sometimes you must just read it out a little bit, let it go for a few minutes, because maybe somebody says something in a few minutes that actually makes you click and everything falls into place and you understand everything. So part of being a student and coming to classes is staying awake. It's not everybody can do. Yeah, and a part of it is paying attention and knowing when to ask questions and when to really let it reel out a little. Right. Okay, fine. What else is going on in this slide? If I said something else, so not this, and unfortunately I haven't set up the software to make this document camera work with my laptop. I must just install some software. But I wanted to draw pictures on paper, but I can't do that because it won't be recorded on YouTube. But never mind that. Just in our minds, we'll envision what would happen if I just said S equals double quotation marks hello world. After all, we did that a lot in the first semester. We even said string S equals hello world, so we did that assignment in the declaration. What happens then? S is still a pointer to a string type, a string object, string data type. But if I put just hello world instead of this new string, then Java points S to that anonymous built-in hello world string that the compiler picked up that I'm using in my program. So in that case, without the new string around it, there would have been just one hello world object, anonymous one, and S would have pointed to it. I still do operations on that string, just like before. But now that I've written a new string, Java is going to copy a new object and pass that anonymous object to that new object, and now I have two of these string objects, and S is pointing to the new one. Right here. Now, there are lots of operations on strings, and you kind of need to be familiar with them, at the very least for the first tutorial. What are the operations on strings? What can you do in Java with strings? How are we supposed to know? Well, luckily the internet is available for everything, and I just use Google. Java 8 API string. I always type something like that. Java 8 because I want the latest version. I don't want old information, which I could potentially get. API, application programmer interface. That's the name for what I'm looking for. I want the interface to this object, and I type this thing, the name of the object I want to find out about. And then I get loads of stuff, one add to create, modify, I don't know what that means, but string Java platform SE8, that's what I want. The Oracle Help Center, very fancy. And this is the whole definition of class string. This is everything you could do with a string data type. So there are loads of examples, including this one, which shows how you can make str point to an anonymous object that contains ABC. And here I make str point to a new string, and I haven't passed it the existing string. I've actually passed it an array of char. This one. But I want to skip all that because what I really want to do is to get to the operations that are defined on a string. So this is fields. Let's skip that for now. Constructors. Aha. Different ways that I can construct new strings. What can I do? Oh, I can just create an empty string. So I can say new string bracket bracket with no parameters. And it will initialize a newly created string object so that it represents an empty character sequence. Cool, so that's how to create an empty string. Or I can pass it an array of bytes, don't know about that so much. Array of, oh, loads of stuff. But this is the one we saw on the slide. So this is a constructor, takes one parameter, which is also a string, it's called original, and it initializes a newly created string object, so it represents the same sequence of characters as the argument. In other words, the newly created string is a copy of the argument string. That's what we did with S equals new string hello world. I'm not just going through the motions. Generally, this list of constructors is the first thing I look at when I look at these API pages. because if I need to get to this page, I'm probably not familiar with the object, the data type, and I need to find out how do I create one. That's almost always the first step in working with an object data type. So I myself, in real life, I sit in my office and I write software. I look at the instructors and find out which one is most appropriate, and that's what I want. And then comes what's called a method summary. So all the operations I can perform on a data type are called methods, and here is the whole list. Now, what's bad about this list is that it contains duplicates in the sense that there is a code, oh well, it's clearly this one doesn't contain duplicates. Here we go, down here. So it contains two versions of this copy value of operation. And that's not confusing, but it tends to cause these lists to become really, really long. So the alphabetical, but still it's a pity that it does contain the duplicates, but that's fine, it's a real alternative. Let's just work through some of these operations just quickly. Char add and an index. So Java has a routine that'll give me a specific character inside a string. If I say s.char add 0, it'll give me the first character of the string. I start counting at 0. So for the hello world string s, if I said s.char add 0, it would have been capital H. This hello world starts with capital H. I'll be honest with you, today I'll just be honest. I have no idea what code point means, code point before code, I don't care. Compared to, now that's really useful. I clicked on it, so I jumped to a more elaborate explanation. Compared to is really useful, use it all the time, because you can't just write s is less than t. If you have two strings less than t. You can't use the integer or double comparison operators to compare two strings. But you often want to compare strings. You want to say, are they equal, or does the first one come alphabetically first? Lexicographically first. So this compare to routine allows you to do that. I can say s dot compare to t, and it will compare s to t and send back something, an int. So I compare two strings and I get back an integer. What do I get back? Read. The definition of lexicographical. If two strings are different, then either they have different characters at some index, that is a valid index for both strings. So there's some point in both strings where they start differing. Maybe they have a shared prefix. Or their lengths are different. The one is the prefix of the second one. So that ABC, ABC, and then this one stops. There's no point where it's got a different character. All its characters are at the start of the other string. Okay, this doesn't explain it carefully, and I don't want to waste time. But bottom line is that if s is smaller than t, s is less than t, this routine will send back a negative number, less than 0. If they're equal, it sends back a 0, and if s is more than t, it sends back a positive number. Let's just get back to this list. Okay, so compared to something you use a lot. Concatenate two strings. I write s.concat t, it will actually create a third string, which contains s and then t together. So it doesn't change s. In fact, strings are a special kind of data type. They have a special property, which we'll get to later, but I'll just mention it now. If we go back right to the top, it'll say that strings are constant. Their values cannot be changed after they are created. Once you've created a string object containing some character sequence, it never ever changes. That object will always be that string. If you make changes to the string, like taking the part of it out or adding something else to it, it doesn't change this. It creates a new string that is the result of that operation. That's called immutability. And it's pretty important but we'll get to it again later on. Okay, right. So loads of operations. Sometimes you have to look through this whole list and see if there's something you need, if you're looking for something specific. I mean, one thing we did do last semester is s.length, returns the length of the string, and so on. Okay, let's get back to slides. Here is one operation, substring. It takes two integers, starting index, and something else. Now you have to be tricky, because in some programming, it can be tricky, because in some programming languages, the second parameter is the length of the substring that you're looking for. So this would mean I want something that starts at position 0 and is 5 characters long. And for hello world, that would just be the hello. And in other languages, it's the position of the first character in the string you want to take out. So 0 is the H. And 5 will be the position of the first character after the substring. As it happens in this case, when I start at 0, both those meanings are the same. In some languages they differ. The bottom line is this is calling an operation on that S, that string object, and it will send back a result, which will be a new string, which is the substring. You cannot modify hello world. S is pointing to hello world. You cannot modify that, and it will print out what is sent back, which is a new string, which is just the hello substring. Let's have a little excitement. Not much. That's all we got. Okay. So this is my RW144 workspace. It's freshly installed. It's newly installed. It's empty. And I want to show a few examples. But just like last term, I'll still be using that Sedgwick and Wayne library from time to time. So just as a quick reminder, I want to install that again. Just so you know, and it's actually recorded on YouTube. So I'm going to make a project called SW for Sedgwick and Wayne. Inside here, I'm going to make a new folder. Because that's how I roll, called lib. Okay, and inside lib, I'm going to put, I guess I can import, my Sedgwick and Wayne file. General, pick it up from the file system. Okay, let's just hope I can find it. Where did I put it? Dropbox. Let's hope it's here. Oh, there we go. Oh, why can't I pick it? Select a directory to import from. Okay, cool. Just that, thank you. Okay, fine, good. So I've got my Sedgwick and Wayne set up again, and I can use that by the build configuration so that my program is linked to that. But my very first program won't touch it. I just wanted to show you that in case I run out of time. My very first program is just string play. I'll just call it that. I just thought of that now. Yeah. Right, and I want to make a class, which I'll just call Friday strings. Doesn't matter. This is a new Eclipse. This is the latest Eclipse. So it may be a little slow because it needs to load stuff. It doesn't know Eclipse error reporting. Disable that. Okay, fine. And let's just type what we had in the textbook on the slides. New string. Hello world. Begin index, yes. Okay, save that, run that. Let's see what happens. Okay, right, fine. So I just printed the hello. So at least it works. S points to this new thing called hello world, which I created with the instructor. But as I said, let's just check, just for safety, if I can, if it works the same way, if I just say, okay, let's see what happens now. It looks exactly the same, so I'm going to change the 0 to a 1. And then we'll also find out if 5 describes the length or the ending index. The ending index. So it's just printing out yellow. I don't want to underestimate your intelligence. Sometimes these things are trivial, but it's important to be able to appreciate just how different these programs are. This one, as it stands now, has one string object ever. Actually 2. It has hello world, which is that anonymous object that the compiler creates because that's what the program needs to run. And it has a second string object that's created by substring. When I call substring, it takes out that substring and puts it in a new string, and that is passed to system out print line, which displays it on the screen, hello, and then program disappears. So the great question is that in the text, how many strings are created during the lifetime of this program? And the answer would be 2. And follow-up question, how many strings are created by this program? Which will now also print hello. And the answer is 3. We have the hello world constant string, which is created by the compiler. Then this new string creates a new string object that is an exact copy of hello world. And the substring creates a third string. But, that's the third string. Full stop. How many string objects are created by when this program runs, including the compiler anonymous string? Okay. Who says, sorry, let me just cover that answer quickly. Okay. Right? Okay. Which is 3. Don't be shy, I want to see. Okay. With 3 of those. Who says 4? Okay, it's going to be a long day. I want everyone to answer. So you better all say 5, and we have to carry on to 6, 7, 8. 5. 5. Okay. More than 5. 3 items. Okay. Fewer than 3. 2 or maybe 0. Okay. Now, next question. Which is the right answer? I think the answer is 4. 4, yes, 4. Ha ha! 4, I say. Because I think the following will happen, but I'm not sure. I think if we count, we find there's hello world, ding, 1. There's the exclamation mark, ding, 2. There is hello world, exclamation mark. which is created when Java sees this concatenation, and it takes this string, anonymous string, and that anonymous string, and adds them together, and it stores that in a new object. So that's 3, ping. Then this new string creates a new string. I made a mistake. Okay, that's 4. Substring creates a new string, that's 5. That object is anonymous, that's already 6. And their sum must be stored somewhere, that'll be a string that's 7. And I may have miscounted, so I think the first wrong answer is 7. Say your name again. Alvin. Like the chipmunk. Oh, you've heard that before? Oh, man. I'm so sorry. Bigger. Another bit. Okay, so sorry. You must, please, don't be... I'm sorry, I was just thinking of chipmunk jokes. Don't be, you must tell me when you want, you can't see, it's important. Colors and fonts. Okay. Cool. Is that okay? Okay, right. I'll zoom in on this bottom part soon. I don't want to make it stupid. Right. Okay, so what would we are? I said 7 is the first correct answer. But the compiler is really, really clever. In that, it will notice that hello world is never used elsewhere. And the exclamation mark is never used elsewhere. So this could really just be stored as the one string hello world exclamation mark exclamation mark. So in fact, it may not ever store these two anonymous strings separately, and only the sum, the concatenation, will be stored. So that maybe the answer is 2 less than I thought, and so the real right answer is 5. I'm not sure if you know exactly how much compile works. Plus, I miscounted and I thought the real answer would be 4. Yes.
If the concatenation decreases it by 2, wouldn't the same apply to the output string because it's also concatenation?
Yeah, but there is some string here, okay, which I counted, and now I concatenate to that the exclamation mark. But in general, Java has no way of knowing what this substring will be. So it can't do this concatenation beforehand. Now, in this particular case, everything is known to the compiler. So it may be that the compiler doesn't create any strings whatsoever, or just the one string, which is the final result. But if S were some parameter that comes from the command line, then the compiler couldn't make that kind of optimization. It would have to store that separately and perform this concatenation separately. Yes?
How much we don't know what's the answer?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I'm trying to think the whole time of is there a way we could somehow trick this system into telling us how many strings we actually created? And I don't think so. That sounds a little low level and too much effort. But these are things that you should be able to think of yourself. I mean, I know you're not going to spend your whole Saturday playing with this one little program, thinking of every possible question that any philosopher could ever ask about. But this kind of thinking and this kind of reasoning is what we eventually want you to be able to do. To be able to say that, okay, you asked me a question I've never thought of before, but I can calculate it. And then I can also tell you, I'm not sure if I answered. it may be this way, it may be that way. So sometimes there is no one right answer. Okay. Listen, I've again run out of time before reaching. I've just done one slide. And I was supposed to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like at least 14, 13 slides. So Monday I'll go super fast. We take this language thing very seriously because the university is insane about language. So I am going to give a short summary, but you must all just sit and listen. Afrikaans. So wat het ons geleer? Don't rustle. We still got other work to do. Oh, damn, right. Wat het ons geleer? Ons kan objekte skep. S is 'n wyser na objek. Java sal in die geval van stringe, wat hy spesiaal hanteer, anonieme interne objekte maak voor die tyd. Hulle is ook objekte, maar ons kan ons eie nuwe objekte skep met new string of new color of new picture. En dan is hierdie operasies, ons kyk na die API, wat ons in Afrikaans net 'n API noem, van hoe om te weet wat die operasies is wat jy op objekte kan doen. Ek sal van wanneer af hard probeer, baie leer dit in Afrikaans om soms te doen. Maar die ene wat ek nie wil hê is dat julle almal weghardloop as ek van Afrikaans praat. Ek dink ek het al ooit Afrikaans gepraat vir enige langtermyn in die kursus nie. Verlede jaar het ons die klasse afgewissel. Die hele klas Afrikaans, die hele klas Engels. En alles op YouTube opgeneem, ek bring dit totaal op YouTube. Maar die universiteit beleid het verander. Voor jy kan gaan, moet jy vir my sê 4 vaste woorde. Tale, aktuariële, alles student. Wat het ek nog gesê? Afrikaans en fourth person. Who's going to be the actuarial? Okay, excellent. Very sorry. 2, Afrikaans. Oh, it's not proper. There's no 2 in there. 3, excellent. Oh, this is all white and curvy. I mean, just give me your name, please. And I'll see you on Monday. Okay? Monday.